Greetings, greetings, beautiful being. Thank you for tuning in to Movement Medicine Morsels. And today we're doing part two, or continuing Hooray for our hips. So, showing our hips some love, which generally in my corner of the world, I like to approach parts of the body with gentleness and ease. And yes, full confession, I used to be a very pushy person and tried to press further into lunges and hamstring stretches and so forth. That's just the way I was. And now I am doing something different where I'm more interested as I age. I'm interested in longevity, in suppleness, in freedom, and I want to be able to move and enjoy and have enough life in me to match the length of my years. So that's my interest now. So I like to think about release, freedom, and also loving our body, loving our joints, and being curious about where is the pleasure, where is the freedom, where is the ease. So it's the process of the movements and not the finished product. And this can be used as a technology all on its own, or it can be used as a supportive technology for any other activity. So if you're still very active and doing dance and yoga that has a lovely intensity to it and that brings you joy and is perfect for you, this can be a lovely complement to help keep everything aware and balanced. So today we're going to be doing a few more hip things with the hips, but we're also going to be playing with the lower body because, yes, it's all connected. There's that song that says hip bone's connected to the knee bone's connected to the shin bone, and all the way down to the foot. So we're going to begin seated. So please join me. And as always, you can stay seated for the whole thing. There will be a standing option if you want to play with that too. So we begin always with setting the mood. Let's have the feet planted. Feel the feet. Don't just, they're farthest away from the brain, so we usually we might shun them. And if they hurt, we're going to orphan them and shun them even a little bit more. So here we're reuniting the wholeness that is ourselves and looking at every part of our body as a messenger. So if something hurts, it's generally a rule of thumb to see that as a place that's trying to give us a message. Maybe we need to rest. Maybe we need to include it more. Maybe we need to look above and below that joint to see what's going on because everything's connected. That's a good rule I learned in yoga therapy studies, is look above and below the area that is bothering you for extra information. It's kind of like being a detective. All right, so we've got the feet, we're feeling our feet, and maybe we're wiggling our toes a little bit. And so many bones and joints in the feet and so many sensory organs and all of those toes like little rays receiving information and transmitting information. So enjoy your miraculous engineering feats called feet. And also feel your sit bones now. So we still feel the feet and sense your sit bones, and you can rock a little bit. And we're using this to feel our foundation. So just a little bit, we'll do a little bit more later. We've got our roots, our feet, we've got our sit bones, and now from that foundation, we rise up, we float up, and the spine elongates, and we remember that we have a sense of suspension and expansion above, and relax the shoulders. Let's inhale, gently lift them, and lower them very slowly today as we exhale, and let them really fall and sink at the end. Inhale, raise them up smoothly. Exhale, let them sink slowly and rest. And now just settle. Settle, feel yourself. We've done a couple of simple things to create a nice posture with a sense of feeling the ground that supports us and the sky that inspires us. And a soft smile and tuning into our breath is nice to do now. And since today's theme is hips, even though we're taking a little bit of a travel around related areas, let's place our hands on our low belly, or maybe even on the sides of our hips, or even in the back and the front, wherever you like. And we're going to invite our breath to fill the pelvic palace, our hips, our perineum, our waistline, the front, the back. And imagine, take your time and slow the breath down so you can really picture it pouring into your pelvic palace, this three-dimensional area, anointing the hips. And we're going to play a little bit with loosening up the hips. So rocking slightly back. I'll move back a little bit. Rocking a little bit back on the sit bones as we exhale. And rocking a little bit forward as we inhale. And you can have your hands helping you feel. I'm doing this mostly so you can see without my hands in the way. And let this be pleasant. Take your time. Take your time. Sometimes when we're rushing through to get something done, or if we're accustomed to moving only quickly, we might not give ourselves the time to slow it all down and savor. How does it feel to roll back on the sit bones? And how does it feel to roll forward? And in the same spirit of moving slowly, raise one sit bone and bring the armpit down and lower that sit bone and feel the stretch. We'll do the same side again. Exhale, a soft curve, and see what your neck wants to do. Maybe this lift of the hip creates a curve all the way on that side. And let that release and just enjoy that. Notice it for a moment before we do the other side. And then on the exhale, we're raising the hip. You might even want to shift a little bit more to the other hip. Armpit and ear gently curve and relax down. And maybe your movement is more about just the initiation. Don't go into pain. So it's the same movement. It's just a different place on the spectrum. This is activating all of those muscles. So if this, a bigger movement, brings you discomfort, ixnay that. Forget about it, as they say in the movies. Just do the amount of the movement that feels good to you and then really let it release. Okay, now for the hips, we'll take those movements into a circle. So here we are leaning on one hip, our sit bone coming to the front, into the other hip. And keep that suspension, that string at the top of your head or cord that keeps you connected to the heavens, the stars, the sky. And just let your pelvis roll around, and maybe your rolling is really small. Maybe it's floppy or bigger, but all of it you're doing slowly today with awareness and looking for ease. If you're not feeling ease, change something so that you go away from discomfort and go in the direction of ease. And of course, go in the opposite direction. And if you really get discombobulated, may I suggest simply stopping, resetting in the heaven and earth position, finding your breath, and then beginning again from that fresh spot. Okay, we're going to do something for the feet and the ankles sitting, because standing hip work requires happy feet. If the feet or the ankles are stiff, or if they feel shy in any way, that's also going to inhibit your hips. So I'm going to recommend that you do the next exercise seated, especially if anybody out there is having any lower leg, foot, or ankle issues. I'm going to stand up to show you because I'm not very savvy with camera positions, so I'm going to change myself. You're sitting, but I want you to think about doing this with your foot. So your foot is on the floor, And you can do this with both feet. So you're just gently lifting the heel and lowering it and resting it. So you're seated and not into pain, just for the pleasure. And really rest. And you're inhaling as you lift the heel, and you're exhaling as you lower. And now very gently inhale, lift the toes, whatever amount is possible. And you're doing this with both feet. And lower and rest. So we're lifting, we're listening, and when we lower, we really let the foot merge into the ground. And let's do one more of these and relax and really lower. So now we're going to rock just like we did with the hips. Keeping the foot more or less in contact with the ground, roll a little bit to the outside, and you're only lifting the inner arch a bit. And then come back center and rest. And you're rolling to the outside just a little bit. So we're not lifting the whole foot today. We're doing something subtler. The toes stay on the floor. So a lot of this work is very subtle. But I'll tell you, if you're willing to go there, it's some of the most incredibly healing, therapeutic, and transformative work available. And remember, you're doing this with both feet. And now, of course, we're going to do the other side. So the knee more or less stays where it is, and we're slightly lifting the outer edge of the foot and lowering down. And we're curious. We're listening. We're inhaling as we lift. We're exhaling as we lower, and really let the foot relax. And just take a moment and rest. We're going to do one more thing with the feet and the ankles, which will be valuable if you do stand up. And it's going to be valuable if you don't stand up. So now, with both feet, we're going to make a circle. So we lift the heel a little bit, and we circle out to the side, let the heel really drop into the ground, roll inwards, and you're making the gentlest circle. Now your knee is going to be moving as well, and guess what? Your hip is going to be moving a little bit. So I'll change angles a little bit. And then, of course, go the other way. You want to really feel the ground and press a little bit into the ground. And your circle might be bigger or smaller. Remember, really listen to your body. Bigger does not mean better. And you're staying nice and tall, and you're doing both legs. Okay, so now let that go and just see what that feels like. Wow, I've just done the one leg. Big difference, but that's okay. I can work with that. So here we are, and just see how your feet feel. Even if you want to continue seated, you might want to stand up and just notice, is there anything new or different in your walking, in how you sense your feet, maybe in how you activate your feet and ankles when you're moving? There's so much available. And if you are going to come and sit down, just stand for a little moment longer, get nice and tall, and maybe hold on to something, and rock your weight a little bit to the outer edge of one foot, and then to the other side. So here I want you to feel into what's happening in the soles of your feet, and how is the weight subtly shifting through foot from side to side. And ooh, look, the hip is going with it. And now try sending the hips forward a little bit, and maybe you sense more under the balls of your feet, and the hips back a little bit, and you're probably rocking to the heels. Stay suspended nice and tall. Hold on to something if that helps you. And now we're going to circle the hips, allowing ourselves to circle around the feet. So as the hips make a gentle circle, I want you to maybe look at your feet and see that you're circling around the borders of your feet. And then circle a few times the other way, very gently. Little hip circles, or medium, these might be medium hip circles. And we'll do one more little release for the knees. This one can be done seated or standing. So I'd like you to choose. And let's rub our hands. Smile. Whew. Let out any sound that helps you relax and release. And when the hands are warm, place them on your knees. Look down on an angle so that you're not contorting your head, and begin gentle circles with the knees. And of course, your feet are still involved, your hips are involved. And make this luscious, make this delicious. And if it's uncomfortable, make it smaller, maybe come up a little bit higher if that's better for you. Focus on the knees as being the initiators here, and let everything else follow. Sometimes we try to keep our feet flat on the ground no matter what else is happening, and I don't like to do that anymore. There's so much interconnectedness through the body. We want to remember that. And you've gone both ways in this case. And we're going to shake out a little bit. Roll the shoulders a little bit, just refresh ourselves. Maybe you want to jump up and down. And we're going to finish with one more hip movement. We were doing figure eights yesterday. We're going to repeat them, but we're going to do them with a slightly different initiation. So if you're standing, if you're sitting, it's going to be very subtle, and it works better if you're slippery on your seat. So I have a wooden seat here. My clothed butt can move easily here. You might want to do circles and continue the arching, and also play with your feet in these positions. And if you're standing, you can follow along with me. We're going to get nice and tall, feet comfortably about hip distance. Just bend the knees slightly and gently turn the hips. So they're going to be on a diagonal, whatever's comfortable for you. Don't crank, but we did a lot of loosening up for the ankles, the tendons of the lower legs, so you should feel comfortable. So maybe the front hip, if you're looking down, is somewhere maybe 2 o'clock, between 1 and 3 o'clock, something, well, 3 o'clock would be right here. So somewhere between 1 and 2, and come center, and then rotate the pelvis the other way. So we're lightly twisting the pelvis, coming back, and you can exhale on the twist and inhale back, and just do this small and notice what's happening in your ankles and your feet, and what's happening in your hips. So now here we are. We're going to keep this hip out in front. This hip is going to draw half a loop. So it's going to slide out, it's going to scoop out, and you're going to end up rotating on the other diagonal. Then you're going to slide across. That hip is going to make a loop. You're in the new diagonal. You're going to slide across. And I'm letting my feet shift. I'm going to change my camera just a little bit. Close your eyes if you don't like fast movement, so you can see my feet. So what we're doing is, as I'm taking the hips to the diagonal, I'm letting my weight shift. I'm scooping around. I'm letting my weight shift. And I'm painting figure eights. And if you like, you can let that one hand, I like this position, Jupiter Mudra. You can move the 2 fingers like you're carving space. And you might notice that I even shift around and maybe lift a heel or the ball of the foot. So think about this a few rounds, moving your hips in a figure 8, and then really concentrate on your feet without getting tight. But notice how much can be asked for from your feet, and imagine that your feet are massaging the ground and that the ground is massaging them. And maybe you discover, ooh, this is easier for me if my feet are a little further apart, or maybe your body is saying, ooh, this is yummier for me if my feet are closer together. And find a way to make this really delicious. And I'm going to come and join anybody who's still sitting on the chair. So you can be using all of those things. The feet, I'm lifting my heel, I'm kind of massaging my butt on the chair. We're doing a chair dance here. If you have an upholstered chair, quick trick is a plastic bag on the chair so that you can get this lovely movement. And now pretend there are no rules. How would you do this movement right now to feel really delicious? Or are you going somewhere else entirely? Let your whole being tell you what feels really nice here for you. And let's inhale, embrace the sky, and exhale, bring all the wisdom and deliciousness, bring it to the heart. Feel and breathe here. And finally, draw all of that love down into the hips and the lower body. Notice how your feet feel. Maybe they're tingling. Notice whatever it is you're experiencing, and welcome it all. And my dear friends, thank you for joining in. That was today's little hip hip hooray, and I'll see you again next time. Many blessings. Drop me a line, ask me a question, offer a suggestion. Hey, I'd love it if you did something about boop, 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 or whatever it is that you're interested in. I have lots of ideas and I love sharing them with you. Okay, bye for now.